The gala's crystal chandeliers cast a merciless glare over the ballroom, turning every whispered judgment into a spotlight. Victor's voice sliced through the crowd like a winter gale. If you can't handle the truth, then get the hell out of my boardroom and my life. The room froze, silverware clinking to a halt, as the young intern crumpled under the weight of those words, his face paling like milk left too long in the sun. But I, Charles, standing just feet away in my tailored tux, knew the storm in Victor's eyes wasn't rage. It was the ghost of his own buried shame, the kind that only I had ever coaxed into the light. We'd been married 3 years that night, in a quiet ceremony upstate where the Hudson River whispered blessings instead of broadcasting them to the world. New York City had claimed us both, me, a soft-hearted curator at the Met, piecing together fragments of forgotten lives. Him, the iron-fisted CEO of Vanguard Tech, building empires from code and cutthroat deals. To the tabloids, Victor Hale was the villain in a Brooks Brothers suit, the man who'd tanked competitors without blinking, fired executives on Christmas Eve, and stared down shareholders like they were prey. Heartless tycoon, the headlines sneered. Ice King of Wall Street. But they never saw the man who woke me at dawn with coffee brewed just shy of scalding, exactly how I liked it, or the one who traced constellations on my back with calloused fingers after a nightmare clawed me awake. That intern, poor kid named Riley, barely out of Yale, had botched a pitch, stammering through slides that bled red ink. Victor's rebuke wasn't cruelty. It was surgery, precise and necessary to save the deal. But the room didn't see the tremor in Victor's jaw, the way his fists clenched not in anger, but to keep from pulling the boy aside and whispering, "You're better than this. Don't let fear win." No, they saw the monster, and I saw the man who'd once confessed to me, voice breaking like fine china, that he'd grown up in a Bronx tenement where tenderness was a luxury his alcoholic father couldn't afford. I learned to build walls, Charlie. He'd said that first winter we fell into each other, snow dusting the fire escape outside my tiny Brooklyn walk-up. But with you, God, with you, I want to tear them down. The fallout hit like a nor'easter the next morning. My phone buzzed off the nightstand at 6 a.m. Victor already gone to the office, his side of the bed cool as a vault. It was my sister, Lila, from our family brownstone in the village. "Charles, the Post is crucifying him again. Hale's humiliation, tech titan terrorizes intern. You okay?" I wasn't. Not because of the lies, they were old news, but because Riley had texted Victor an apology laced with venom. "You're a bully, sir. I hope karma bites you in the ass." Victor hadn't shown me the message. I'd found it open on his laptop, buried under spreadsheets, his reply unsent. "I'm sorry. Let me make this right." I drove to Vanguard that afternoon, the Manhattan traffic a snarl of horns and exhaust, my Prius feeling like a tin can amid the Escalades. The lobby was a fortress of glass and steel, receptionists nodding me through with the deference reserved for Mr. Hale's husband. Up on the 47th floor, Victor's corner office overlooked the Hudson like a hawk's perch, but he wasn't there. His assistant, Marta, a no-nonsense Latina with a glare that could melt fusion, pointed me to the rooftop terrace. "He's brooding," she said, her voice softening. "Tell him to eat something. The man's skin and bones these days." The wind whipped up there, carrying the faint brine of the river, and Victor stood at the railing, tie loosened, sleeves rolled to his elbows revealing forearms etched with faint scars from a childhood of scraps and survival. At 35, he was still boyish in profile, sharp jaw, dark hair tousled by the gusts, broad shoulders that carried the weight of 1,000 unseen battles. He didn't turn when I approached, just murmured, "You shouldn't be here, Charlie. This place, it poisons everything." I slipped my arms around his waist from behind, chin resting on his shoulder, breathing in the cedar of his cologne mixed with the city's grit. "It doesn't poison us," I whispered, pressing a kiss to the nape of his neck where a tattoo hid, a tiny anchor, inked on our honeymoon in Key West, symbolizing the steady harbor we'd found in each other. "Tell me what happened with Riley." He stiffened, then sighed, turning in my arms to cup my face, thumbs brushing my cheekbones like I was porcelain. I was too harsh. He reminded me of me at that age, scared, swinging wild. But I lashed out instead of lifting him up. Now the vultures are circling, saying I'm unfit. Board meeting tomorrow. They might push for my resignation. The vulnerability in his storm gray eyes gutted me. This was the Victor the world never knew. The one who'd cry during old Hitchcock films, quoting lines about love's fragility. The one who'd spent hours in our kitchen off West 10th, flour-dusted and cursing as he botched pancakes for my birthday, only to beam when I devoured them anyway. We'd met 4 years ago at a charity auction for the Ollie Forney Center. Him, reluctantly dragged by a PR team. Me, volunteering to appraise donated art. He'd bid impulsively on a Warhol sketch, then confessed later it was just to talk to me, the curator with paint under his nails and a laugh that cut through the din. That night, after the rooftop, we escaped to our brownstone, the one Victor had bought sight unseen because it had a garden where I could grow herbs for my witchy teas, as he teased. He cooked, real food, not takeout. Seared scallops with lemon risotto, his knife worked precise as a surgeon's. Over wine, he opened up about the board. Old money sharks sniffing weakness, led by Harlan Crow, a silver-haired fossil who'd clashed with Victor since the merger. Crow's got dirt, Victor admitted, swirling his glass. From my wild days. If he digs it up. I reached across the table, lacing our fingers. Then we face it. Together. You're not that kid anymore, Vic. You're the man who saved me from my own ghosts. My ghosts were quieter, but no less heavy. A conservative upbringing in upstate Ithaca, where dad was a history prof and mom baked pies for PTA meetings, both loving but blind to their son's quiet ache for boys instead of girls. I'd come out at 22, post-college, in a tearful phone call that ended with mom's stunned silence and dad's gruff, "Well, son, as long as you're happy." But the isolation lingered until Victor, raw, unapologetic Victor, stormed into my life like a Category 5. We made love that night slow and deliberate, his hands mapping me like a cartographer charting new lands. The curve of my hip, the dip of my spine, whispers of mine, and forever against my skin. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of us, he traced my wedding band with a fingertip. What if I lose it all, Charlie? What if they take this life from us? I kissed his knuckles, bruised from gripping the terrace rail too hard. Then we build another. In Ithaca, if we have to. With pie and no boardrooms. He laughed, that rare, rumbling sound that vibrated through my chest. You and your apple pie dreams. All right, farm boy. But first, we fight. The next weeks blurred into a siege. Harlan Crow's whispers turned to roars. Leaked emails painting Victor as a tyrant. Anonymous tips to the Times about toxic leadership. Protests outside Vanguard. Queer activists ironically picketing for safer workplaces. Unaware Victor had tripled donations to LGBTQ+ causes post-marriage. His checkbook as soft as his heart. I fielded calls from friends like Theo, my gallery buddy in Chelsea. Dude, your hubby's trending for all the wrong reasons. You holding up? Barely, I'd admit, while Victor paced our living room, phone glued to his ear, barking orders that masked the exhaustion carving hollows under his eyes. Behind closed doors, though, he'd collapse into me, head on my lap as I ran fingers through his hair, humming old folk tunes from my college days. You're my anchor, he'd murmur, eyes drifting shut. Don't let go. But anchors can drag you under. It started with a letter, slipped under our door one rainy Tuesday. Cream envelope, no stamp. Victor's name in elegant script. He tore it open at breakfast, face draining of color. It's from Harlan. He's calling a special vote. And he knows about Elena. Elena. The name hit like a sucker punch. Victor's ex, from a decade ago, before he knew himself fully. A whirlwind affair in San Francisco. Her the fiery startup founder, him the ambitious coder experimenting with his edges. It ended ugly. Her accusations of emotional distance, his abrupt exit when he realized his heart pulled elsewhere. Rumors swirled she'd spiraled, addiction, a breakdown. But Victor had buried it deep, part of the wild days he never unpacked. Knows what? I pressed, though dread coiled in my gut. He folded the letter, hands shaking. She died, Charlie. Overdose, 5 years back. Harlan's twisting it, says I drove her to it, that I'm poison in relationships. He's threatening to go public unless I step down. The kitchen spun. Victor, gentle Victor, who'd nursed me through flu seasons with broth and bad jokes, now accused of something so vile? It's lies, I said fiercely. We fight this. But doubt crept in like fog off the East River. That night, as Victor showered off the day's grime, I rifled his desk. Wrong, I know. But panic makes thieves of us all. Tucked in a locked drawer, photos of Elena, laughing on a foggy pier, arms around a younger Victor, eyes alight with something fierce and uncharted. A journal entry, scrawled in his angular hand. She sees me, but not all of me. God, what if I'm broken? Broken. The word echoed my own fears. The nights I'd wake sweating from dreams of rejection, convinced our love was a fluke, that Victor's public armor would one day crush the private tenderness. Was Elena the ghost between us? Had he truly left her unscathed? I confronted him the next morning over cold coffee. The journal splayed open like an accusation. Victor's eyes widened, then shuddered, that familiar wall slamming up. Charlie, it's not. You wrote it. Vic, what if I'm broken? Was that about her? About us? My voice cracked. The Met's latest exhibit, a shattered Ming vase, flashing in my mind, beauty born from fracture. He sank into a chair, rubbing his temples. It was about me. Back then I was lost. Elena was fire, Charlie, passionate, demanding. She pushed me to chase dreams, but I couldn't give her the pieces she needed. When it ended, I blamed myself. Thought I was incapable of real love. His gaze met mine, raw as an open wound. Until you didn't demand, you waited. You saw the cracks and filled them with light. Tears stung, but I held back, the air thick with unsaid hurts. And Harlan? If he drags this out, it'll destroy you. Us. Victor's jaw tightened. Let him. I've got nothing left to hide from you. But secrets have a way of multiplying. Lila called that afternoon, her voice a wire-taut whisper. Charles, there's a woman at the family brunch tomorrow. Harlan's niece, supposedly. She's asking about Victor's past indiscretions. Mom's freaking, says it's a setup. Brunch at the village brownstone was sacred. Mom's quiches, Dad's bad puns, Lila's gossip from her ad agency gig. But with Harlan's shadow looming, it felt like a minefield. Victor begged off. Work, he lied. But I saw the fear in his eyes, the same he'd worn as a teen dodging his father's belt. The dining room hummed with forced cheer, crystal tinkling under autumn sun slanting through leaded windows. Harlan's niece, Sophia Crow, was a vision in emerald silk, mid-30s, blonde waves, eyes like polished agate. She cornered me by the sideboard, flute of mimosa in hand. Charles Hale? The man who tamed the beast. Tell me, how do you sleep next to someone who broke a woman's heart so badly she never recovered? My fork clattered against porcelain. Excuse me. Elena Vasquez. Victor's little secret. My uncle has files, texts, voicemails. She begged him to stay, and he ghosted her. Straight to rehab. Then gone. Sophia's smile was a scalpel. Harlan's protecting the company. But you're collateral. I excused myself to the garden, gulping air laced with Mom's chrysanthemums. Lila followed, her hand on my shoulder. She's poisoned, Charlie. But is there truth to it? That night, Victor came home late, reeking of bourbon and boardroom smoke. I waited in the study, Elena's ghost between us. Sophia Crow, I started, voice steady as I could manage. She says you abandoned Elena, that you pushed her over the edge. His face crumpled, and he poured another drink, the amber liquid sloshing. I didn't abandon her. We fought. God, the fights were nuclear. She wanted marriage, kids. I was 25, still figuring out I loved men more than the idea of her. When I ended it, she was furious, but we parted as friends. Or so I thought. He slid a USB drive across the desk. Harlan's files. Hacked voicemails, edited to sound damning. I tried to help her after, paid for therapy, checked in. But she cut me off, blamed me for everything. I plugged it in, the tinny plea filling the room. Vic, please. Don't leave me like this. Cut to silence, then a sob. Manipulated, yes, but the pain was real. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I whispered, heart fracturing. Because I hate that version of me, he admitted, voice hoarse. The coward who ran. With you, I wanted to be whole. We didn't make love that night. We held each other in the dark, his heartbeat a metronome against my chest. But the seed of doubt had sprouted, twisting toward the light. At the Met the next day, amid Renaissance Madonnas gazing with eternal sorrow, I texted Theo, ever feel like you're loving a stranger? His reply, all the time, babe. But strangers can surprise you. Surprise came swiftly. A week later, Vanguard's holiday party loomed. A glittering affair at the plaza, where deals were sealed over caviar and champagne. Victor dreaded it, but Harlan had maneuvered the board vote for post-dinner, a public execution. Wear the navy suit, he murmured that morning, adjusting my tie with fingers that trembled. You make me brave. The ballroom was a fever dream. Tuxes and gowns swirling under baccarat chandeliers. Jazz quartet weaving through laughter like smoke. Victor worked the room like a prize fighter. Handshakes firm, quips sharp, but I caught the strain, the way his smile never reached his eyes. Sophia was there, arm in arm with Harlan, her gaze a laser on us. Midway through, as Victor stepped away for a call, she sidled up, breath warm with gin. Enjoy it while it lasts, Charles. Uncle's dropping the bomb tonight. Elena's sister is flying in. Testimony about how Victor destroyed her family. Rage boiled, but I kept my voice low. You're playing with lives you don't understand. She laughed, a tinkling bell. Love? It's a fairy tale. Victor's a shark, you'll see. He returned then, hand at my elbow, grounding me. Everything all right? Before I could answer, the quartet paused, Harlan taking the mic with a grandfatherly beam. Ladies and gentlemen, before we vote on Vanguard's future, a word on leadership. True strength isn't in boardrooms, it's in accountability. The screen behind him flickered to life. Elena's photo, young and radiant. Then headlines, Tech Bros betrayal, love that killed. The room gasped. Victor went statue still beside me, his grip on my arm bruising. Whispers erupted. Is that Hale's ex? Jesus, what did he do? I pulled him toward the exit, but Harlan blocked us, eyes gleaming. Resign, Victor, or this goes viral. For Elena. In the coat room, away from prying eyes, Victor shattered. He slid down the wall, head in hands, sobs racking his frame. Deep, guttural sounds I'd never heard, like a dam breaking after decades. I didn't kill her, Charlie. I swear. But if believing that saves the company, maybe I should go. No, I said, kneeling, cradling his face slick with tears. This isn't justice, it's vengeance. Harlan's using her memory to bury you. We expose him, together. He searched my eyes, doubt warring with hope. You believe me? With everything I am. And in that moment, amid fur coats and forgotten umbrellas, I did. The man before me, the one who'd bandaged my scraped knee last summer biking in Central Park, who'd whispered poetry in the rain during our first date, was no monster. He was mine, scars and all. But betrayal's blade has two edges. As we plotted our counter, hiring a PI to trace Harlan's hacks, Riley, the intern, resurfaced. Not with apology, but alliance. He'd been crow-planted, feeding intel. Sorry, Mr. Hale, he texted Victor, screenshot forwarded to me. But power like yours, it corrupts. Elena deserved better. The knife twisted deeper. Our home, once sanctuary, felt besieged. Victor withdrew, sleeping on the couch, claiming jet lag from phantom trips. I wandered the Met's halls like a ghost, restoring canvases while my own world frayed. Lila staged an intervention over takeout Thai. He's scared of losing you, Charlie. Like Dad with his tenure, pushed everyone away. But fear festers. One night, I came home to find Victor on the terrace, phone to ear, voice low and urgent. Sophia, I can't. It's not that simple. He hung up as I stepped out, guilt flashing across his face. Business. Liar. I said, the word a slap. With Harlan's niece? After everything. It's nothing, he protested, but his eyes darted, the anchor tattoo peeking from his unbuttoned shirt like a taunt. She's offering a deal. Bury the Elena story if I step back quietly. And you considered it? Without me. Hurt bloomed, hot and irrational. Am I just your soft landing, Vic? The husband who cleans up your messes while you flirt with exits? He recoiled as if struck. Flirt? Christ, Charlie, you're twisting this. Sophia's a snake, same as her uncle. I told her no. But the seed from Elena's letter had grown thorns. We argued, voices echoing off brownstone walls, accusations flying like shrapnel. You never fully let me in. I shouted, always half-hidden, like you're waiting for the door to hit you on the way out. And you? He fired back, voice breaking, poking at my scars like they're exhibits in your museum. Maybe I am broken. Maybe we both are. He stormed out, doors slamming like a guillotine. I collapsed on the bed, clutching his pillow, inhaling the ghost of him. Hours later, a text. At the office. Need space. Love you. Love you. 2 words, a lifeline or a noose. Dawn broke, gray and unforgiving. The city stirring under a shroud of drizzle that turned sidewalks to mirrors of regret. I called in sick to the Met, first time in years, and paced our empty home, walls echoing with phantom arguments. Victor didn't return until evening, slipping in like a shadow, eyes red-rimmed, suit rumpled. Charlie, he started, voice gravel. About last night. Don't. I held up a hand, throat tight. Just tell me the truth. All of it. About Sophia, Elena, everything. He nodded, sinking onto the sofa, gesturing me beside him. For hours, he unraveled. The full Elena saga, not abandonment, but a mutual implosion fueled by his closeted confusion and her unyielding ambition. I loved her in a way, he admitted, wincing at my flinch. As a friend, a mirror. But when I came out, to her first, then the world, she felt betrayed. Said I'd used her as cover. I sent money, visits, but pride kept us apart. Her death. It haunts me, yeah, but I didn't cause it. And Sophia? I pressed, the name bitter on my tongue. A ploy. Harlan's sending her to seduce Intel, or worse, frame me. She cornered me at the party, offered alliance with implications I shut down cold. His hand found mine, tentative. I swear, Charlie, you're my only. Relief warred with residue doubt, but his touch, warm, steady, grounded me. We talked till midnight, forging a fragile peace. Hire the PI, gather evidence on Harlan's manipulations, go public on our terms. Together, we vowed, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of salt and second chances. The PI, a grizzled ex-cop named Ruiz from Queens, delivered gold within days. Emails proving Harlan's hack of Victor's old accounts, payoffs to Riley, even Sophia's scripted testimony ghostwritten by a Crow lawyer. This guy's a relic, Ruiz grunted over coffee at a diner off Times Square. Thinks 80s cutthroat still flies. But it's dynamite, enough to sink him. Armed, we prepped for the board vote rescheduled at Vanguard's auditorium, a sterile amphitheater of polished oak and screens. Victor rehearsed in our garden, Ty Askew, words honed to a blade. Leadership isn't perfection, it's accountability. Harlan preaches it, but practices sabotage. I watched from the kitchen window, heart swelling at his quiet fire. The man who'd once stuttered through his coming-out speech to me, now commanding his fate. But betrayal's final act lurked in shadows. The morning of, as Victor knotted his tie, his phone chimed, an unknown number. He glanced, paled, and silenced it. Spam, he muttered. I didn't buy it, but the clock ticked. At the auditorium, power suits filled seats, Harlan at the podium like a televangelist, droning about ethical stewardship. Victor and I entered last, my hand in his silent talisman. Sophia sat front row, her smile a viper's curl. The vote opened. All in favor of Mr. Hale's resignation? Harlan's allies raised hands. 8, a slim majority. Victor stood, voice steady. Before you seal this, consider the man pulling your strings. Screens lit with Ruiz's evidence. Timestamps, transfers, Elena's voicemails dissected to reveal edits. Gasps rippled. Harlan sputtered. Fabrications. Then chaos. Sophia bolted up, phone in hand. Liar. I have proof. But her device buzzed, screen projecting accidentally via Bluetooth. Text to Harlan. Target resisting. Need more dirt on husband, Charles. The room erupted. My name, dragged into the mire. Victor whirled to me, horror etching his face. Charlie, but I saw it then. The missing piece, that unknown text. Sophia hadn't cornered him alone. She'd targeted us both, digging into my past, my own quiet skeletons, like the ex-boyfriend from Ithaca who'd outed me cruelly to family friends. You played me. I whispered, not to Victor, but the air, betrayal stings sharper than any boardroom blade. Harlan lunged for the mic, but security, tipped by Ruiz, hauled him out, board members shouting for adjournments. Victor grabbed my arm. It's not what you think. She called this morning, bluffing about you to rattle me. I deleted it, didn't want to worry you. But the damage bloomed. As we fled to the limo, paparazzi swarming like locusts, I pulled away. You should have told me. Again. How many times, Vic? Until I'm the one broken? He reached, desperate. Charlie, please. This is the fight. We're winning. Winning. Laughter bubbled, bitter. At what cost? Your secrets are killing us. The drive home was silence, the city blurring past like a bad dream. At the brownstone, I packed a bag, essentials, toothbrush, the anchor necklace he'd given me. I need air. Not space, air. To breathe without ghosts. Stay, he begged, on his knees in the foyer, rain streaking the windows like tears. I can't lose you. You're the only gentle thing in my brutal world. I cupped his face, memorizing the lines I'd traced 1,000 nights. And you're mine. But trust isn't rebuilt in a night. Or a vote. I left for Lila's, the village street slick underfoot, hard a lead weight. She enveloped me in hugs and hot toddies, but sleep evaded, dreams tangled with Elena's laugh and Sophia's sneer. Days blurred, met shifts on autopilot, Victor's text a litany, miss you. Fighting for us. The board ousting Harlan, Vanguard shares spiking, headlines flipping to Hale's heroic stand. But victory tasted ash. On day 5, Ruiz called, one more thread. Sophia's not Crow blood, paid actress. And that text? Traced to her burner. Victor never engaged. Innocent. Again. Shame burned hotter than doubt. I drove to Vanguard at dusk, the tower a monolith against bruised skies. Victor's office was dim, him silhouetted at the window, scotch in hand. Charlie. I crossed the room, dropping my bag. I'm sorry. I jumped again. Like with Elena's journal. I see monsters where there are just men. He turned, eyes shadowed. We're both scarred, love. But scars don't define us. They remind us we're alive. We collided then, kiss hungry and healing, hands fumbling buttons, bodies remembering the language words failed. On the office couch, scandal be damned. We reclaimed each other, slow and sacred, his whispers of forever, a vow against the storm. Weeks mended us. Harlan indicted for fraud, Sophia vanishing into tabloid footnotes. Victor stepped back from the CEO grind, mentoring instead, Riley among them, redeemed with a quiet apology over coffee. We honeymooned late in the Adirondacks, cabined by a lake where loons called like lost souls finding home. One evening, fire crackling, he pulled an envelope from his pack. Cream, like the threat, but this one his. For you, he said, voice thick. Inside, a letter to Elena's family, his confession, an offer to fund a scholarship in her name. No more ghosts. I read it aloud, tears blurring ink, then kissed him deep. You're the gentlest man I've known, Victor Hale. Public be damned. He smiled, that boyish curve. And you're my anchor, Charles. Always. In the end, the world kept its myths, the cruel tycoon, the ice king. But behind our door, in the quiet of pie-scented mornings and rain-lashed nights, we built truth. Two men, flawed and fierce, loving through the wreckage. Not a fairy tale, but real as the Hudson's flow, enduring, unyielding, home. The Adirondack air bit crisp that fall, pine-scented and alive with the rustle of leaves turning gold under a canopy that filtered sunlight like stained glass. Our cabin perched on the lake's edge, a weathered A-frame Victor had borrowed from a bored ally. No strings, just gratitude for loyalty amid the fray. Mornings, we'd wake to mist rising off the water, his arms slung heavy over my waist, breath warm against my neck. Stay in bed, he'd murmur, voice husky from sleep, fingers tracing lazy circles on my hip. World can wait. But the world intruded, subtly at first. A New York Times profile framing Victor as the redeemed titan, quotes from Riley praising his mentorship, tough love that builds, not breaks. I scanned it over oatmeal, smirking. They still call you cruel in the comments. Hale's PR glow up. He chuckled, low and self-deprecating, stealing a kiss that tasted of maple syrup. Let him, as long as you know the truth. Yet I saw the flicker, the old armor threatening to resurface, especially after a call from the board. Interim CEO gig? Stabilize things. He'd hesitated, glancing at me. Only if you're on board, Charlie. No more half-lives. I nodded, but unease stirred. Our reclaimed intimacy felt fragile, like the first frost glazing the dock. Beautiful, but prone to crack. Nights by the fire, we'd unpack more, my Ithaca wounds, the ex who'd weaponized my queerness in a small-town whisper campaign, leaving me adrift in Brooklyn's anonymity. You make me brave enough to remember, I told him, head on his chest, heartbeat a steady drum. Without the shame. And you make me gentle, he'd reply, voice a rumble. Without apology. Back in the city, reintegration tested us. The Met's winter exhibit, a survey of American folk art, demanded my nights, canvases of quilts and whirligigs evoking hearths we'd yet to fully reclaim. Victor dove into mentoring, Vanguard's Hale initiative for young LGBTQ+ entrepreneurs launching with fanfare at Stonewall Inn. Lila emceed, her toast a zinger. To Vic, who went from boardroom bully to big brother. And Charlie, the saint who saw the softy underneath. Laughter swelled, but Sophia's shadow lingered. A tabloid snippet surfaced. Crow niece vanishes. Hale, scandal swallow? Prompting Victor to hire security for our brownstone. Paranoia, I teased, but his grip tightened during walks in Washington Square, eyes scanning joggers like threats. It peaked one December eve, snow dusting the village like confectioner's sugar. We'd hosted a small holiday gathering, Theo with his latest artist fling, Mom and Dad beaming over eggnog, Lila grilling Victor on grandkid plans, with a wink that said adoption pamphlets were incoming. As guests thinned, Victor pulled me aside in the garden, breath fogging the air. I got a package today, from Elena's sister. My stomach nodded. What? Not a threat, closure. He handed me a slim box, velvet-lined, a silver locket, engraved with her initials, containing a tiny photo of her and Victor, young and unscarred. A note. She spoke of you fondly, in the end. Thank you for the scholarship. It honors her fire. Tears pricked, Victor's too. Harlan twisted her memory, but this. It's real. Forgiveness I didn't earn. I clasped the locket around his neck, over the anchor tattoo. You earned it with us. With me. But humanism demands reckoning, not just romance. New Year's brought a curveball. Riley, now protege, confessed over drinks at a Soho dive. I was broke, scared. Crow offered cash to spy. But seeing you two? At the vote, holding hands amid the shitstorm. It shamed me. You're what I want. Not power, but partnership. Victor clapped his shoulder, no grudge. We all stumble, kid. Get up, build better. Watching them, mentor and mentee, echoes of Victor's Bronx youth. I felt the story's arc bend toward grace. Not flawless. Our fights flared still. Over his long hours, my curator's wanderlust. But each cooled with honesty. Doors left ajar instead of slammed. Spring thought us fully. We planted the garden anew. Herbs for teas, tomatoes for sauce. Victor's hands dirt-streaked, cursing weeds with a grin. Farm boy dreams, huh? He'd say, pulling me down for a kiss amid the mud. One twilight, as fireflies danced like errant stars, he knelt. Not in proposal redux, but revelation. Charlie, behind every closed door we've cracked, I've found home. Not in empires or exhibits, but you. Marry me again. Renew it, raw and real. Laughter bubbled through tears. Fool, we never stopped. The ceremony was small, upstate by the Hudson, same spot, but with Lila officiating, Mom's pie for cake, Dad's toast slurring sentiment. Vows exchanged under willows. I take your storms and scars, your gentleness and grit. Rings slipped on, anchors eternal. Years later, at 40, with Vanguard a legacy trust and my Met wing named for queer visionaries, we'd reflect on that gala, the hook that hooked us deeper. Everyone thought me cruel. Victor mused one anniversary, wine by the fire, our rescue pup curled at our feet. But you were always my gentle, I countered, lacing fingers worn by time. In America's vast tapestry, flawed, fierce, we wove our thread. Two men, loving defiantly, humanly. Not conquest, but quiet revolution. Behind closed doors and beyond, we endured.